TV.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to the Australian Ultimate Championships. My name is Oakley Ryan. I'm joined here by Max Stenstrom. We're bringing you today the first of the men's semi-finals between Ellipsis, the men's Ellipsis team, and Sydney Colony's Mutiny.
We are indeed, Oakley, and it's a pleasure to be here on this beautiful Saturday afternoon in Townsville. Got a real slight breeze coming right to left on your screens, just enough to cut through the hot, humid conditions that we've had here all week long. But at least at this stage, not enough that it'll have any real impact on throwers of the kind of calibre that we've got in this game.
I think that there's been enough wind slowly building up over the weekend that everyone should have hopefully adjusted to it by now, and that it shouldn't make a big impact on our games.
You're absolutely right. And I mean, these two teams, they know each other pretty well. They've met each other 3 times this season already. Ellipsis getting a draw and a win at March Madness, whereas Colony got the best of them at their more recent encounter at BCI. And not only that, but obviously a number of players, particularly the leaders on this Ellipsis lineup, having spent plenty of time in the Colony jerseys in the past. Tom Chulett, Rob Andrews, Pete Ely. Big names that have previously worn the Colony jersey. This year they're in green and black, and it's suiting them very nicely so far.
Both teams have had different runs into the semi-finals. I think Colony had a little bit more of an easier run with a pretty convincing win over Fishwick in the time slot beforehand, whereas Ellipsis had a bit more of a toe-to-toe game with Newcastle's I-Beam.
And we'll see whether that makes a difference. I mean, I know both of these teams put a big emphasis on physical conditioning coming into the tournament, but it's been draining conditions, and 100-minute time cap games really takes it out of the legs, especially when you've got pretty short turnaround, as Ellipsis had. It's Colony getting things underway here as Ash Evans finds the disc on the far side and centres back to Ladamados. Mark McClay cuts under, not able to provide much. And eventually the dump comes to Blakely and flips back to Ladamatos. To Black on this near side. And we'll get a pick downfield. So far so good from Mutiny's offense. Recycling the disc when options weren't available downfield.
Yeah, I think it was actually an injury pick, but then an injury taken there by Stu Austin. He's just coming off on the sideline, looks like a little bit of a calf cramp or something.
It's not the first time, probably won't be the last time we see cramps this tournament. These kind of conditions, so hard to stay hydrated and with a sufficient amount of electrolytes in you. We've had a couple of players have to be put on a drip and taken to hospital due to dehydration and heat stroke, which is obviously something we never want to see. But challenging conditions. Ash Evans fires an arcing forehand to Peter Blakely, but Andrew C. gets a piece of it and does just enough to get the turn on the opening point of this match. And Ellipsis' defense get their first look at a break opportunity.
It'll be very interesting to see if Ellipsis can hold on to this one and get that early break. It will really set up their offense and their defense for the rest of the game, knowing that they have that slight buffer for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and establishing that momentum, we've seen hugely important, especially in games where the legs are starting to feel heavy. It's just that bit more difficult to motivate yourself to run hard, play decent defense when you've got a hole to dig yourself out of. Copland with the disc. He'll come to this near side. We've got another pick downfield as Mark McClay gets obstructed as he pursues Chuck Lee.
Typically, as Copland looks like he was ready to put the afterburners on there and stream deep, but that pick call really clinched his momentum there.
And he'll get his hat back as well. Sunny day. And these players doing what they can to keep their cool and stay fresh. Ellipsis got a very nice, disciplined-looking vertical stack in the centre of the field. Dan Matthews Hunter will reset the stall count and then break to the near side to C.
It's another pick call. There's already been, I think, 3 or 4 pick calls, and it's still only the first point. Both teams really need to clean up their stacks, clean up the centre of that field, just to help them with the flow.
I was chatting to Cron Hudson, the coach of this Ellipsis team, yesterday. Ellipsis were perfect up to that point. And I was asking him how they were going, getting their wins, and he said, you know, we're getting the results, but he felt that the spacing wasn't working beautifully. So Peter Blakely returns the favour for Andrew C in the end zone. Sorry, Cron Hudson was saying that spacing had been an issue, and that might be contributing to all these picks that we're seeing this match. It's Latamados finds Evans on this near side. Back to Latamados, to Blakely. Mark McClay has steps off the back, but the wind's starting to pick up, and it's coming a bit right to left and away from the camera, making that deep shot relatively difficult. Black finds Latamados retaining possession but conceding metres. Blakely has McClay going deep, and the throw will come now as the backhand opens up. McClay in space brings that down. Mutiny hold on their offense, but it isn't clean to go 1-0.
There's been a travel call on the throw, it appears. There's a bit of a discussion there between Blakely and C, but that disc looks like it's coming back.
It does. I think he's arguing he turned the corner as Blakely cut under.
Game advisor Alan getting involved there, providing perspective.
It's obviously not for him to make the decision, but he'll provide, as you say, what he saw, and also clarification on any of the rules if that's a point of question.
Retracted call, goal, so Blakely will need to send that disc back down there for Colony to now play defence.
But there's no more fitting way for Colony to open their account this game than hitting Mark McClay in the end zone.
It was a beautiful cut from McClay. He had a great amount of separation there from Chuck Lee, and it was a great look from Peter Blakely to see and recognise that, put the disc up with a perfect amount of float. McClay ran onto that just completely uncontested.
He did, and he adds one more to his collection of stats. He got 5 goals in the previous game, and Blakely threw 5 of them. So you can see the importance that those two have on the offensive line. Especially impressive because Mark McClay, a late addition to the offensive line. He was playing defense all season long, and just come across since Dave Andrews sustained a slight injury to his right hand, making catching and throwing just that little bit more difficult. And the young Mark McClay has stepped up beautifully.
It's really good to see such versatility in these younger players as well. They're not being held into kind of one position, into offense or defense. They're really able to adapt. As that disc is absolutely sent up there by Reed, will be fielded by Tullett. To Lochnan. Nice around break flick to Rob Andrews with a bidding wee on the mark there. Back to Tullett, to Andrews. Struggling to find their unders here, Ellipsis are. Finds Lochnan in the centre of the field. And to Phillip here on the close sideline. Evans provides an option, but he's looked off. Dumps back to Tullett. Very limited options down there in the field. Tullett finds Andrews again, which seems to be a favourable combination. All the way across the field to Phillip, to Lochnan in the centre of the field. Finds Andrews again, 3 of them doing a lot of work to move that disc. Evans in the centre, back to Andrews. He's got Tullett on the fat side but can't hit him. Hits Phillip. Back to Andrews. Hits Tullett on the inside, who throws the around to Peter Ely.
That's a beautiful bit of offense from Ellipsis. Andrews driving that disc up the field, but everybody contributing. No player really holding the disc for more than a couple of seconds. Great example of high tempo offense.
There almost seemed to be a little bit of force confusion from Colony there. It looked like they were having a backhand force until halfway, and then at the halfway point it switched to a flick force. I don't know if that was intentional, but it almost seemed like it did not work in their favour once that switch occurred, because then everyone downfield was a bit more caught out.
Yeah, if it was a plan, didn't seem like everyone knew about it. And certainly not effective that time. It was a great bid by Wee early in the point to have a sniff at getting a block on the first pass. Obviously not successful, but you keep having those chances and they will eventually materialise for you into something more concrete. But Ellipsis, as you say, get themselves on the board. It's 1 apiece, 2 offensive holds. Everything on serve so far.
Going to have Sam McGuckin with the pull there for Ellipsis. And it goes up.
And it'll be Reece Stewart underneath it.
It's a beautiful pull, perfect hang time.
It just lands out the back by the look of it. And it'll be a brick. Alex Latamatos will do the honours of picking up the disc.
That's a beautiful pull though from McGuckin to be able to get such length on that pull. There is a little bit of wind floating around, so that will certainly hold the disc up a bit more, but if he's able to adjust that slightly to bring it so it's landing just inside the back of the end zone, it's going to do wonders for the Ellipsis defence.
It will. And you can see just the kind of difference that a brick gives. That's a 25, 30-metre advantage that Alex Latamatos gets by walking that up. Ash Evans provides that first movement. Slightly wayward dump pass from Evans, but nothing to worry about. Peter Blakely finds Stewart on that far side. Stewart coming across to this O-line. Earlier in this tournament, he's been playing a lot of time on the D-line. Blakely looks to Black up line. Now Stewart heading to the end zone. Latamatos charges up line but can't get open. Huge bit from McGuckin, but Ash Evans
McGuckin
holds on. Blakely on this near side has McClay streaming. Not happy. And Andow goes to turf as he provides an under. Latamatos will put it out in front of Blakely. And there's very few players in the country that can stay with Peter Blakely when he decides to go up line.
That was some great offensive movement there from Colony. It looks as if the handlers were doing a lot of work to keep that disc moving, and then they struck downfield when they needed to.
Was an example of really lovely offense. Again, both these teams clearly very classy outfits stringing together. Great offense under great pressure. Speaking of that pressure, bodies were flying.
That was an amazing bid from Sam McGuckin. He timed it perfectly, was just not able to get a hand to it.
Very close, you see there on the replay. Inches. It is a game of inches, as McGuckin just found out.
Peter Blakely milked that scoring a little bit. Saw that he didn't have, his defender wasn't on his tail, let the wind take it for a little bit, milked it into the end zone for the score.
Real veteran move. Preferring to get it done there and then.
Well, if you're able to, why not?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's the right choice. And we're at 2 apiece. It's worth noting that most of this offense has had to be upwind. It's not a stiff breeze yet, but enough to cause the odd bubble, perhaps.
Tullett to Lochnan. Hill provides an option in the centre, but isn't hit. Ely on that far sideline tries to hit Tullett in the centre of the field. He's running out of options now and has to throw the up and loopy around to Matt Hill, who just manages to hang on to it. To Andrews in the centre of the field. Overthrows Ollie Lochnan, gives Colony their chance at their first break.
Yeah, you could feel the stall count getting high, maybe a bit of a desperation pass, trying to take a very difficult break throw.
Gann with the disc now, inserting himself into this game. He's trying to find a dump option. Stall count's getting high. He wants to throw something. He finds Hardy on the far side of the field there. Back to a bidding Gann. Keeps that disc alive. On the end zone corner. Throws the around there to Noel. Back to Gann. He wants to throw the inside break and he gets it to Hardy. Colony go up first break.
They do, and they're stoked about it. As you can see, Alex Gann drills that inside forehand into Hardy, who holds on. Seb Hardy, one of the younger captains on this team, showing why, leading from the front.
It's a beautiful replay. Gann really worked hard in that point. He got almost every second disc, and he even put his body on the line, bidding very, very hard in that far end zone corner there to keep that alive, and then move the disc, swing the disc back around to get that score for Colony.
So Colony Mutiny draw first blood against this, the green and black of Melbourne's Ellipsis. And we're chatting a little bit before the game about the kind of pressure that comes from being part of a club with the kind of history that Ellipsis is. You know, their women's team has never failed to win nationals. Their international appearances have all been stellar. They won the US Open a few years ago in the mixed division. Their women did very well at WUC just last year in the States, and they're on path to again attend the US Open with a mixed team this year. It's been an excellent history, but this men's team now having to carry that burden of expectation.
It certainly does. It places a lot of pressure on the team to perform well, and sometimes they don't perform well under that pressure, as we just potentially saw there. Another errant throw away from Tullett, giving Colony a chance at another break.
Yeah, really an unforced error from Tom Tullett, captain of this team, and really not someone that Ellipsis expects or caters to make simple mistakes like that.
I think that was potentially a pick call downfield.
The disc will come back.
Disc is going to go back to Seb Hardy there.
And Colony are in a prime position to get a second break here. They're about 20 yards out. Got Alex Gann powering up line. And they've got Powley filling into the centre. They'll shoot over the top. It's going to hang. Dylan Bennett's underneath it. But Rob Andrews elevates and absolutely cleans up the pack. Coming in from behind.
Rob Andrews almost went for a screamer over the top there.
He did hold on, but there'll be a big discussion about the contact involved.
And I think he absolutely flattened Dylan Bennett in the process.
Andrews has left the field, injured. Bennett, Evans, Ely, Tullett, all in the space.
That throw from Powley just had too much lip on it. The wind just picked it up and completely sailed it. And everyone was underneath it, and Rob Andrews got an absolute run into that pack, plucked it out, and came down on top of every single one of them.
I mean, incredible take by Andrews, but he did initiate a fair bit of contact, and that's the discussion at the moment. We've got two game advisors helping us out this match. They'll provide their perspective and the rules on a tricky situation like this one.
I think the discussion will obviously be, is it dangerous play? Is it a foul?
Yeah, I'm imagining they're discussing the verticality rule. That is, every player has the right to the space above them. And in that moment, Rob Andrews was living in the space above all those players.
He definitely was.
He wasn't just head and shoulders. It was head, shoulders, chest, torso above everyone else in that pack.
So we have, it looks like McGuckin is coming on to replace Andrews, and Blakely will be coming on to replace Bennett. Possession currently unknown still, Max.
Looks like it'll stay with Colony. It'll be a foul. So Blakely will pick it up and have to walk to the front of the end zone. Doesn't get a much better position than this to get a break. Disc in the hands of Peter Blakely, but he does not deliver. He turfs it straight away, and McGuckin heads for the end zone, marked by Gann.
Overthrows the dump to Alex Gann there. McGuckin absolutely streamed deep, hoping to receive something long, but it wasn't put out.
Felix Watson just gets a toe on that throw, but I think there's a foul call.
I think that's a foul call. Uncontested foul there. Tom Tullett's going to get the disc back.
Tullett clearly under a lot of pressure. He turfed the previous break attempt. That one a foul, though. Clearly Watson doing well to hassle it.
And a violation there. Players moving too quickly.
Now they'll have another chance. Doesn't want Evans, despite being massively open. Tullett clearly got a vendetta against the Evans brothers. And now Gucken with the disc. McGucken finds Chulett in the centre. Big backhand. Sam McGucken going deep.
McGucken in yards of space there.
Forehand out in front for Peter Ely, the finisher of this Ellipsis team. And that's a hold, but it is anything but pretty for Ellipsis at 3-2.
That's exactly right, Max. They're still down a break, essentially. They still need to be able to come back for this next point and get the score to break even again. If they let Colony, if they still continue trading from here, they're still going to eventually end up down 1 in the grand scheme at the end of the game. So their D-line definitely has to work really hard to pull that break back.
And we've seen them in earlier games this competition bring Andrews across from the O-line when they feel like their defensive unit needs a little bit extra strength, a bit more firepower, but they're not doing that yet. They're just sticking with their core defensive players, having faith in those systems and those lineups to get it done. And I think that's the right choice, at least early in the match. You know, use your athletes and the depth of athleticism that they have on this roster to wear out Colony Mutiny.
Tommy Boyle with the pull there. It's a big floaty pull. Fielded there by Reece Stewart to Latamatos. He punts it up. He's got Blakely underneath that one, who's absolutely running, and he gets it. Not quite in though, he brings it back. Goes for the little dishy, but not quite on. He's now trying to find options. And there was a call there that I didn't quite see what happened. Pick call.
It's a pick call by Dan Matthews-Hunter as he was marking Xavier Black. So the disc will go back.
Blakely is still with the disc there. He's going to be on quite a high stall count, so he needs to get rid of this one relatively quickly. Dumps back to Latamatos, who just dishes it in there. Dishes it in to Mark McClay. Racking it up on the stats board, he is.
He is. That's his second goal for this game.
Alex Latamatos' second assist for this game. That's a clinical offense from the Colony boys. Peter Blakely had a great amount of separation there. Latamatos gave him a very, very nice huck. There was nothing that could be much, just nothing much could be done to stop that.
No, there couldn't. And what's crucial about putting that in quickly for Colony Mutiny is it means that the Ellipsis O-line don't get much of a break. They had to work so hard before to hold on and punch in their offense earlier. Now they get a minimal break and they're back out there under the pump once more.
That's certainly right, Max. And the Ellipsis O-line really is going to be spending a lot of time out there if they keep allowing Colony to keep scoring. So the O-line needs to work hard to try and get quick and effective and efficient points, and then have their D-line try and take a bit of the work off of them, because the harder the O-line works, the more tired they're going to get.
That's right. And in these tough conditions, that difference is it really exemplified with it being so hot and humid, not to mention being game 2 on day 3. So they've had a fair bit of running up to this point as well. The Ben Poway that gets things underway for this point, though that pull could be out the side.
That pull is well out the side. And it looks like Ellipsis are opting to not take the brick on this one, but they're going to take the sideline.
They will. Obviously, it's always a trade-off between central field position and distance from the end zone. This time they feel like it's more advantageous to walk it up. And interestingly, they brought Oliver Loughnane across. And find Ely underneath. Dishes to Loughnane. To Chulett, moving it quickly to this near side, keeping the tempo high. Now things start to slow down, finds Evans. Back to Loughnane, he'll put it out to Ely. And that is the type of offense that Melbourne's Ellipsis need to produce consistently. That was beautiful.
That was beautiful offense. They moved the disc quickly. No one held on to that for more than 3 seconds, I'd say. And it was just efficient the Mutiny defense didn't really have time to clamp down at all, and it just meant that they had lots of flow, and then they were able to just punch one in nice and quickly, get their D-line out, try and get that break back.
They certainly did. And now Colony Mutiny have the task back on themselves to do the same. Ellipsis trying to increase the defensive energy now. They obviously, the ball in their court, as you say, to get that break to level things up.
Tommy Boyle, young goanna, is going to be coming out with the pull on this one.
Originally a Ballarat product, but now playing a lot of ultimate down in Melbourne.
Playing in the big leagues, as you'd say, Max.
Yeah, commuting to the big smoke to play with the green and black.
It's a nice pull.
It is.
Stewart to Latamatos. Gains a nice amount of ground on that one. Finds Blakely on the far side of the field. To Dow. Puts it up. Oh! Evans plucks it out. Hits Latamatos again. He doesn't really have a dump option there, so he puts it out into space and hits Black.
That felt like a bit of a high stall count, bailout throw.
It certainly did. He seemed to be sitting out there in the space all by himself, didn't really have a dump option for him to turn around to and engage, so I saw that, I don't know who it was, someone tried to provide an option for him, but it just wasn't on, and so he just put it up, tried to float it slightly towards the fat side of the field, hoping that someone, maybe anyone, would bring it down. And
they did. They did. Not perfectly weighted throw onto that break side. Had Antdale and Xavier Black in the region. And he threw to their advantage and they delivered on it. But, as you say, high stall count situation. Probably not the plan A for Colony Mutiny's end zone offense, but effective nonetheless.
Certainly effective because it got them the point on the board, and that's ultimately what they are aiming to do and wanting to achieve. However, you don't want to be doing that for multiple points in a row. That's not how you want to be playing.
No, and it's not sustainable. And that's exactly what Ellipsis have to take away from that. If they're consistently able to push Mutiny into those kind of options and that kind of situation, they know that the turns will follow.
Going to have the pull here from Sean Reid.
And the wind starting to pick up, keeping that pull a little shorter than usual. And Lochnan will be the one to get things going. Ely, stutter steps, heads deep.
There was a call there, and Peter Ely saved that one from being a turn.
He does. Nice bid to keep it alive. Disc will return to Lochnan. Gann on the mark. Ely cutting out of the stack, but not able to provide. Have to find Chulet on the far side. Lochnan covered well by Gann. Now Hill finds it. Lochnan going deep. The throw will come. Surely not with Alex Gann underneath, but it does. Oliver Lochnan shows his class, shows his pace, leaves Alex Gann in the dust.
And that, Max, that is not an easy thing to do. Alex Gann has a lot of pace behind him. He's very, very fast off that mark. So I'm very impressed to see that Ollie Lochnan was able to match that tempo and push the foot down and kick it off and get that score on the board for Ellipsis again.
And it was a lovely throw to make it happen.
It was a beautiful throw there from Matt Hill. He saw the space. Ollie Lochnan provided that handler deep cut. So the acceleration that he had off the mark and then over the ground that he had to cover, he was able to just create that separation for Hill to just throw into. We did see there that Cameron Lyon was also underneath that, tried to get that, mistimed his jump, and just let Ollie Lochnan pick it up behind him.
That's why you got to be there to support your teammates. As it's now 5-4 to Mutiny. And we mentioned that they look to do this at some points as Rob Andrews finds his way onto this defensive line for Ellipsis.
He does it. Here he is putting up this pull now. That one also looks like it is going to go out that far sideline. No, it is received and then given straight off to Latamados, who centers it back to Stewart. There is a call in the stack though. I believe there was a pick call there. Rob Andrews getting caught behind the stack, trying to chase Peter Blakely. Reece Stewart with the disc. Still gives it to Blakely anyways. Hits Evans in the center of the field, who dishes it back to Stewart. He doesn't really have a dump option, needs someone to provide that. Gives it to Blakely, but there is again another pick in the stack. They need to clean their stack up. The spacing issues need to be sorted out because it's really interrupting game flow.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's like at some point the offense is handicapping it because it is just harder to generate off a static situation without the momentum of the cut. So picks slowing down, breaking up that momentum really actually hurts the offense.
Disc is on this close sideline now with Black, who threads the inside to Latamados. On the outstretched Copland, who is just not able to get a hand to it.
And that's a great effort by Copland. And great fundamentals from Alex Latamados. Attack the disc no matter the situation. And he reaches and plucks it.
The Ellipsis boys can probably hear them in the background slightly. Trying to get up, trying to get rowdy, trying to get everyone pumped. Their O-line needs to be hanging on to these ones.
Does. And in the previous game, we noted that Colony got up against Fishwick pretty comfortably in the end, 15-6, and I noted at the end of that one that Latamados hadn't had to do a lot. He'd been able to sit back, rely on the rest of his team to carry a lot of that workload. And that means that coming into this game, he's got fuel in the tank. And we can see that he's delivering. He's got 3 assists and now a goal to his name just in this early parts of this match already. He's clearly decided to assert himself this match. You know, he's got that energy from a slightly easier game this morning, and he's putting it to good use out there.
That's certainly right. We have seen that there were almost what I'd say 2 easier games in that quarterfinal, and then there were 2 harder games in that quarterfinal. And the teams that played in those harder quarterfinals, which was Ellipsis, they just seem to be slightly struggling now, and that just could be a fatigue issue.
That's right. They had a 15-12 win over I-Beam, so it was much closer than that for the vast majority of the game, and only very late did Ellipsis open up that 3-point lead. They really had to work the entire time. As the big shot goes up to Rob Andrews, Dave Andrews marked up on him, brother to brother, mano a mano. But it's the elder, the senior, Rob Andrews, who comes down with it.
He says, "Thank you, I will show you how it's done."
And I'm sure that won't be the last time we see that matchup.
We also saw, I think, Ant Dow peel off the back there, trying to assist with that coverage, but the throw was just very pinpointed. The speed was there. Rob Andrews just too good, brings that one down.
He does, but Dave Andrews, known to be one of the few players that really gives his older brother a challenge and gives him problems. I know it's a matchup that Colony Mutiny think is something that they can rely on to generate good results for them. And they'll continue to look to that matchup to generate turnovers for them. As the timeout is called at 6-5, both teams recognizing this as a crucial turning point potentially. Ellipsis recognizing they need to get a break back, and it needs to happen soon.
Certainly, you can see the Ellipsis coaching and captain team are just out there on the field still in Kieran Hudson, Cron, Tullett and Copland are discussing, obviously, what can they do to try and bring this one back, to try and get that score back. The Colony boys do have the wisdom of Mike Neild being on their sideline, who is unfortunately injured and no longer able to play the tournament. But having him on the sideline is certainly going to be a very, very handy addition to their team.
It is, and obviously a great player in his own right, and I'd love to have him out there on the field, but part of what he brings is really that intangible leadership to this team, and that's just as applicable whether his arm's in a sling or not. And they'll continue to look to him as that kind of spiritual leader of this team in many ways, regardless of whether he's got cleats on his feet.
That's exactly right, and it's always nice having an independent pair of eyes that's not on the field. The insight that they can provide by just saying, this is what I'm observing, this is what I'm seeing, this is what you need to change, is absolutely invaluable, because sometimes when you're on the field, you just can't see those things.
No, and it's actually an interesting thing. Even as we've seen off-field dedicated coaching becoming more and more popular, more and more prevalent, and kind of generally accepted as being a real advantage, Colony, one of the teams that has been at the top of the game in Australia for many, many years now, has always resisted that urge. They've never gone down that path. They've always relied on on-field leadership, which is an interesting choice by them. Obviously, there are plenty of veterans that can provide that leadership, but never opting for a dedicated coach. And maybe something that they'll potentially look to change in years to come.
It's really interesting as well, because it seems to be working for them, obviously. Colony have multiple championships to their name, and why change? Why fix what isn't broken?
Absolutely. It's, as you say, it's getting them results. They've won nationals almost every time they've been at a club. They've done exceptionally well at international competitions.
And that's a brick pull there from Andrews, really far out, almost towards the back. So Colony going to get that one from the brick mark.
Just a little update on the other men's semi-final on the field behind us. Brisbane Mammoth currently locked toe-to-toe in a battle with Colony Uprising. It's 5 apiece in that one, and we'll do our best to keep you updated throughout that match. Obviously, the winner of that one will play the winner of this game in front of us in the final, in the big show, tomorrow morning. But first, they have to get there. And we've got another pick. As Colony's offense, once more, getting a little jammy. Both teams having this issue this game.
Stewart with the disc on the close side here. He looks to Latamatos again straight away. Latamatos with a push off down the line there. And I don't blame Matthews Hunter for calling the foul on that.
No, and it'll come back. Little chat about it, not much. Easily resolved. Play will restart. Both of those players.
Disc is back in, back to Latamatos on the around. Stewart hits the downfield, leaves Latamatos there without a dump. Hits Blakely. Stewart says, no, don't give it to me. Yes, give it to me. Finds Latamatos, and there is another pick.
And just right now, you can see what's the potential cause of it. The 3 players at the back of the stack there, barely a metre separating each of them. It's not a lot of space to work in, and very easily going to turn into a pick once they start moving.
It's interesting because the handlers seem to be the ones doing a lot of the moving and the movement at the moment. And so I almost am struggling to see where these picks are coming from.
Latamatos shoots deep, and Mark McClay. What a revelation he has been this year. Already stepping up to take a huge role in the Colony offense.
That seems to have been a recurring theme. Latamatos to McClay. It's happened once, it's happened twice, I think it's happened thrice now.
And it's paying huge dividends for them.
It certainly is, as that's Colony up now on a 7-5. And if their defense is able to work hard on this one, they're able to take out half.
It'll be certainly an opportunity for them to maybe load up this defensive line with a little extra strength
And why wouldn't you realistically, Max? If you know that, you know, this is what's on the line. This is a semi-final. You've got the grand final on the line here. You want to be coming out strong, and taking half is certainly going to only put them in a better position for the rest of the game.
And they can always have a break afterwards, because we'll be heading into halftime if they're successful. But largely they seem to be ignoring our advice, sticking with their regular defensive unit. Likewise at the other end, Ellipsis, their normal looking offensive line.
Going to have Sean Reid again with the pull for Colony. He's done a majority of the pulling with the defensive line here. I think majority of them have been in. But the risk is from this sideline, the brick pull is somewhat inevitable with the way that wind's going, and that's happened again. As Toolett's going to be picking that one up and bringing it to the brick mark there in the center of the field. A very deep stack, deep separated stack there from Ellipsis, with Andrews isolated slightly in that space, which he hits him on the under, being marked by his younger brother Dave. Hits Hill, back to Tula on the fat side of the field now. Dumps back to Hill in the center of the field. Big gain to Phillip over the outstretched Andrews. He just couldn't quite get there. Phillip hits Tullet. Oh, bidding Tullet there. Has to bid to keep that one alive. Fakes the hammer. Phillip goes back for the dump and then looks at the around to Evans but doesn't hit him. Inside there to Evans. It's the break side to Hill in the center of the field. He's looking at his options, surveying. Doesn't have anything coming really towards the disc, so it goes back to Tulip. Hill clears deep as Andrews comes in for the dump, but then he finds Evans on the open side. Back to Tulip. It's very messy offense at the moment. Their stack isn't doing much downfield. Line provides a cut open. So does Andrews, and he hits Andrews. And then, whoa! Evans pulls that one down when he has two Colony defenders in the same space.
Yeah, two Colony defenders peeling out of the stack, running straight towards him. Evans holds his focus, keeps his cool head, and plucks it out to get that Ellipsis hold. They keep within striking distance at 7-6.
Yeah, 7-6 now, so Ellipsis are certainly still in the game. The only downside is that their defense has to work ridiculously hard now, because they cannot drop a point if they still are wanting to aim to take half. If they let Colony get the next one, Colony is going to be taking half.
And this will be the time that Ellipsis bring that little bit of extra strength across to their defensive line. They've got all their defensive stalwarts out there with the addition of Chullett and Andrews. This is a point that they're targeting as one where they feel they can get the break and then progress on top of that, hopefully follow it up with another and into that halftime.
Certainly right. They have really stacked that line there. They've brought Andrews across again, as you said, and he's going to be putting the pull up. They've also brought Tullet in for the firepower.
It'll be Reece Stewart underneath that pull, finding Latamatos. We've got an immediate pick once more. As you see that stack again, we've got Dow, Black, Evans, all within maybe 2 meters of each other. Love to see a little bit more space between them, possibly leading to a few less picks. But McClay will be first to move here. As play restarts, Blakely with the disc. McClay marked by C. C leaves his feet, but McClay holds on. Shapes downfield, but nothing being provided. McClay having to work hard to get anything off as he finds Blakely. Latamatos not able to provide the continuation that he wanted to. Blakely gets it back. Latamatos in the way. Now provides some space. Fakes big. Not a lot being provided. Swings off to Evans on the far side. Stewart open in the centre. Marked by Matthews Hunter. Finds Latamatos up line. Again, things break down, and now we've got a call. Now we'll discuss that one. I'm not quite sure what the call was. I'm not sure if I caught it.
I'm not sure either. I'd almost go that's a safe bet to say it's a pit call, though.
Yeah, there's been a few of them this match. The stack's starting to get sloppy. And they'll discuss when it happened, just how far ago, because the stall count certainly was rising with a disc in the hands of Alex Latamatos.
Alex Latamatos, I think, has to get rid of this one relatively quickly to prevent a stall out here.
And he does just that as he finds Blakely about 2 metres out. Latamatos not giving him a lot of space to work with. Zings one in. Finds Ash Evans being trailed by Sam McGuckin. And
That's
Colony
half.
Mutiny hold to take half, as you say, 8-6. They hold their nerve despite the extra ellipsis pressure.
It was great movement there, great patience. Colony seems to be knocking on the door of that end zone for quite a few passes, and they just managed to move it amongst themselves until that opportunity opened up for them to strike into the end zone.
Ellipsis really making a good defensive stand, but not enough. Only able to delay the inevitable, not prevent it. And as these players take half time and grab a drink and grab a break, so will we. But don't go anywhere, because we've got plenty more action coming to you from the men's semi-final at the Australian Ultimate Championships. And welcome back to the Australian Ultimate Championships. It's the men's semi-final. It's Melbourne Ellipsis taking on Sydney's Colony Mutiny. And at this stage, it's Mutiny that's got the upper hand. 8-6. Ellipsis gave up a break early and haven't been able to get it back.
Quite unfortunate, though, as well, Max. Ellipsis really let that break go quite early on in the piece, and now I think they're coming out on... Are they coming out on offense or defense?
Ellipsis will be on offense.
Ellipsis coming out on offense, which is good for them. At least gives them the opportunity to try and chip towards getting that break back. Although Colony, as you'd only assume, wanting to just extend that lead.
They will be. They do know that after this game they've got a big rest. It's the last game for the day for them. Tom Chulett gets underneath that pool, finds Loughlin in the centre, come the near side to fill it. Evans, Chulett streaming through. Nothing continuing upfield as yet.
Very typical of, what seems to be very typical of the Ellipsis offense is that they work the disc a lot through their handlers. As that's an errant throw, but Andrews brings it down. Chulett now finds line with an uncharacteristic drop on this close sideline, gives Colony the opportunity to extend their lead.
And that's just ice cold. Defensive pressure had nothing to do with that. Camline, you can see in his body language, he's a bit disappointed.
You can see the disappointment in his eyes.
And they'll look to go the other way.
Again to read a Chulett! And does Hardy save it?
He does.
He does. Gann up the line with a nice amount of separation from Ely, and there is a pick call in the stack. Almost could have predicted that one, Max.
There's been a few of them, and I know there was a bit of a discussion between the Spirit captains at halftime, just about a few little minor things, feeling like some of the players are getting a bit physical in the stack, potentially contributing to some of these picks.
Gann with a disc on the far side of the field there, finds Reed being marked by Lyon. He's hungry to get that back. Back to Gann, who looks for the around but can't hit it. Wants to hit Dow, but he can't get him. Hits Andrews on the far sideline, being marked by his older brother. Big marker gets foot blocked. There potentially might be a call on, there is a foul call on that one, and the two will discuss it out. Here's the replay.
Let's have a look.
Oh, it's a close one.
It is a close one. It's hard to tell if it had left his hand. I'm going to say it was a foul. The disc was still in Dave Andrews' hand, and the disc will come back.
Looks like Rob agrees because it's been an uncontested foul, and he's bringing it in. Sends it back around to Gann. He's trying to direct the play, pointing out where he wants it. Threads the inside there to Wee. Oh! Seb Hardy gets on his guts and keeps that one up. Colony extend their lead out, 9-6 now.
And what a way to start the second half for Colony Mutiny with a break. Extend the lead to 3.
If you're Ellipsis, you're certainly going to be disappointed with that result. they need to be holding their offensive points and then working overtime on defense to try and claw those breaks back. If their offensive structures cannot hold strong and cannot provide results in points, it's almost going to crumble, and Colony just going to walk away with the rest of this game.
They will. It's really that simple. Ellipsis need to be better than that. We just saw Rob Andrews walk straight past the commentary booth. A look of determination on him. I think Ellipsis still have plenty of fight in them, but so far the fight is being won by Colony Mutiny.
Rob Andrews also, something that seems to be big for the Ellipsis men this tournament is getting the bouldering chalk out. Just chalked his hands up, try and take away the sweat, the humidity, aid with the grip on the disc there.
Yeah, it's been a challenge. Obviously, gloves an option. Not willing to go the gloves route, opting for the chalk instead.
Gloves are certainly an option, but just not a lot of people enjoy them.
No, can't blame them. And it'll be the old Colony captain, Tom Chulett, going to pick up this disc. Get things moving again. Rob Andrews out in the lane, doing what he usually does. Receives the pass from Ely. Line in front of him. Lockman working very hard. Bennett does well to shut him down. Good to see him back on the field after taking a big hit earlier when Andrews crashed the pack. Chulett marked by Hardy. That's been a great matchup all game long. Delivering fireworks. Phillip loves that little backwards cut. Now Lockman with the disc. Just getting a little bit jammed on that sideline. Need to find some width, and they do just that with the swing pass to Andrews, marked by Gann. Find Ely on this far side. Can't get Andrews up line.
Oh,
and Dylan Bennett!
Dylan Bennett!
Poaching off the front of the stack.
Gets the run through Dion Chulett. He will not be happy with that.
And he is incredibly open in the end zone.
Punts it.
The throw comes from Alex Gann. Dylan Bennett. Be happy with that one. That's double happiness.
That's a double happiness. He had acres of space. Oh, there is a call all the way back where the throw occurred, which could potentially be why Dylan Bennett was in an acreage of space.
Not sure what the call was. Love to see a hand signal. It's a pick hand signal.
The question is, I guess, did it affect any of that?
That is the big question. How much of an effect did that pick have on Alex Gann getting that throw up? Because it definitely didn't affect the defense on Dylan Bennett. It was about 35 yards free of anyone. The disc will come back.
And Dylan Bennett had so much space there that you see Tom Chulett walking back knowing that he's having to give him an acreage. He's standing in an absolute paddock out there in the end zone, and that Rob Andrews is going to have to work super hard to get in front of that.
The throw doesn't come. Seb Hardy with the disc on this near side. Gann working up line, finds some space to deal with. Dylan Bennett comes towards the near cone, can't come. Gann fires across the stack, but Peely elevates against his old teammates and his old club. Gets the disc back. Chulett looks off Hill. Instead opts to Andrews, marked by Gann. It's coming in beautifully weighted. Andrews can't quite jump it in. He's got Cam Lyon in behind. But can't hit him either. He'll look back and he'll time out. The stall count will be reasonably high. Maybe 5 or 6 would be my guess.
Good call there from Rob Andrews. He didn't really have many options, and I think it was only timely because they want to keep that possession.
They do. They recognise that if they give up another opportunity here, the deficit just becomes a little bit too big to recover from.
Especially in this heat and humidity, there is a lot of fatigue already occurring. You can see everyone, hunched over, trying to catch their breath, taking in the Gatorade. It's that fatigue is going to start setting in, and if they keep giving the disc back and they have to keep running and running and running, they're just going to burn out.
They are. These long points are draining. Townsville's very warm. It's that tropical humidity that just makes it even more challenging, even more draining to have to play long, hard-running games, which is exactly what this is turning into. Speaking of long, hard-running games, in the other men's semi-final, we did get a recent update. It was still level at 6 apiece, so they're clearly battling it out in some long points themselves.
Certainly are. Would you think the Ellipsis are going to run a set play now, try and isolate someone in the space?
Almost certainly. Andrews with the disc. They'll look to get one player in space, give them space to work.
Looks like they've put Peter Ely into that space there, which is, he's been a goal-scoring machine for them.
He really is the quintessential finisher for this Ellipsis team. He'll get some disc in the midfield space, but I'd be willing to say the majority of his touches come in the end zone catching goals.
Looks like Ely's going to be marked by Gann there. That's a good matchup.
And the disc will be coming in on stall 5, as we said. Not a lot of time to work with. We'll have to look to dump relatively early.
And stall has been called. Andrew's still holding the disc. Potentially a fast count there.
Andrews suggesting that it was too fast. It'll come back in, stalling 8. There's a contested stall out.
Lockton's going to have to work hard to get open for this dump.
Finds Ely.
And just as we called it, the quintessential finisher, Peter Ely showing what he can do for the team, and he puts the chalk on the board for them.
When they're in the end zone, I'd argue there is no more deadly player on their team than Peter Ely. Has a great feel for the timing and the space.
I don't think you're wrong there either. Peter Ely is really, really effective and efficient at finding the space in the end zone. So his throwers can hit him with that, and he finishes it off for them. He does do a lot throughout the center of the field as well, but he does his best work in the end zone.
He certainly does. And a lot of that work in the midfield is made easier for him because his defenders know he's a threat in the end zone, so they are overcompensating in that direction, giving him plenty of space to work underneath, which he's more than happy to take and will punish you for over and over again. But it's when he gets into the end zone that he's really in his element. And at 9-7, Ellipsis still within striking distance, but they're starting to run out of time.
We've just hit the hour mark in this game, so still have 40 minutes to go, but this scoreline is getting towards the finishing end. As Andrews puts up a big pull there. Reece Stewart's going to field that one to Latamatos in the centre. Looks like a bit of a junk look now from Ellipsis. Back to Stewart. And Stewart overthrows Peter Blakely and gives it back to Ellipsis. Colony looking like they're opting to play match defense, and Harsh is going to pick this one up. Andrews hitting the open side, can't quite hit him. Matthews Hunter to Harsha. Nice around there to sliding Copland, who can't hang on to it. Blakely almost walks over it, doesn't. He picks up the disc. He had McClay deep, but doesn't hit him. Latamatos on this close sideline hits McClay on the under. He has Black deep, but finds Dow. Dow wants the around. He's got no options. He puts it up.
And we Alex Latamatos behind the pack picks up the crumbs.
That was probably a stall 8 or something. Hail Mary there from Matt Dow. Puts the around backhand to the fat side. Overthrows a huge pack of not only receivers but defenders. And Latamatos straight in. Thank you very much. Take that one to the bank.
He will. And he grew up playing a lot of AFL, and that was a classic midfielder play, picking up the scraps behind the pack when no one holds on. And he does beautifully there to turn what was a great defensive set from Ellipsis into a goal for Mutiny.
Certainly was a great defensive set. we saw a zone play from Ellipsis there for the first time this game, and it was effective enough to get a very quick turn for them. Unfortunately, they just weren't able to capitalise from that.
I expect we'll see more of that zone. Obviously, if it's generating a turn that quick, they'll probably pull that one out of the bag of tricks a few more times at least.
That's certainly right. It generated a really quick turn, so I can imagine them pulling it out again, wanting to see if they can generate those quick turns again, and then that will also make the Colony offense play slightly differently to what they've been used to.
It's worth noting, however, got them that quick turn in a situation where both Chulett and Andrews are on the field, and neither of them were able to assert themselves, take control, and convert that opportunity. So potentially a missed chance that they may look back on. As Loughnane finds Chulett, who immediately goes up line, getting beyond half field to get things started as he's marked by Watson. Finds Ely coming underneath. He doesn't have a lot opening up for him, has to dump to Loughnane and gets it back. Line cuts hard to the front corner. The throw doesn't come. Back to Loughnane. Breaks the mark, finds Andrews. 3 meters out. Who finds Lyon? Ellipsis hold.
Lyon hanging on to that one. He wasn't letting that one go anywhere. Trying to redeem himself for that little drop earlier. He
was. Andrews flipping it into him nicely. The Andrews matchup, it's been tight. I'd have to say the seniors had the better of it so far. I'm sure Dave Andrews has plenty left in the tank to come back as that battle progresses.
It feels as if the game is a lot more settled from Ellipsis now. Their offense is a lot cleaner and a lot more clinical. In those earlier points, it was very messy. Their handlers had to work hard to be generating the movement, which now, you know, their cutters seem to be taking a little bit of the load off them, which just enables a little bit of pressure to be removed from their handlers and then generate a bit better flow.
And now Chulett bringing himself onto the defensive line, adding that extra firepower. Ellipsis clearly pushing hard now to get that break. We'll see whether they pull out that same zone look that they did the previous point to great effect.
Stewart to Ladamados.
It looks like they will.
Fakes the big. Yeah, Ellipsis have put that zone back on again. Stewart to Blakely in the centre of the field. It's transition now to man. Hits McLean in the centre of the field. He's looking for an option. He engages his dump and hits Blakely on the over, but he can't get him. It's a fumble. Ellipsis, they've given it straight back, and Ellipsis need to hang on to this one. They need to convert this. Tullett is walking towards the disc, being marked by Black. McGuckin streams deep. Stewart peels off to try and help him. His Ash Evans goes up. Oh!
Sam McGuckin looks like he got first hand on it, and they'll have a chat about what happened upstairs.
Certainly. McGuckin went up strong, got a hand to it, and then Ash Evans had the bump on the back just behind him.
McGuckin goes up nice and early. Definitely had position, and it's just about whether Evans clattered into his back and caused him to drop that.
Yeah, there's no doubt contact occurred. It's just whether the contact meant that McGuckin couldn't get a clean hand to it. So it's an uncontested foul, which means McGuckin will walk it up to the front of the end zone.
And this is a break opportunity for Ellipsis. They literally do not come better than this.
See Reece Stewart there pointing to who he's taking, as I can imagine Sam McGuckin's going to want to try and move this one quickly so there's not a lot of more people don't come in and clog the space.
Once it gets tapped in, he'll walk back to the front of the end zone. Interestingly, he jogs. I would have thought he'd like to move slowly, but gets it underway.
He engages Tullett, and there's a hand block! As Black streams deep after getting that hand block, gives Colony another opportunity, and Ladamados puts it up. He has McClay streaming deep. Can he get there? Yes, he does!
That is a ridiculous throw from Alex Ladamados.
That was one of the biggest forehands I think I have ever seen.
Absolutely massive. Multiple turnovers that point. Ellipsis give up probably the best look they've had at a break all game. and Alex Latamatos totally ruthless in return. Launches a missile out of his right hand, laser guided onto Mark McClay's chest.
So unfortunate. Ellipsis had the opportunity to bring that back to 9-10. Would have almost given them another sniff at winning this game. And just an errant throwaway with a hand block just means that, you know, now Colony stretch the lead back out to 11-8.
And they're starting to look like they're in the driver's seat of this game, booking themselves a ticket into the final. And speaking of the final, it's Mammoth that currently lead Colony Uprising 8-6 in the other semi, with a potentially big upset for the Brisbane boys there on the cards.
The Brisbane boys had really worked hard this morning in their quarterfinal game, taking out their win over Host 15-9. So I can imagine that they probably had a little bit more fuel in the tank to burn this game as well.
And it's clearly being put to good use there after what they'd probably consider a poor showing yesterday on this showcase field against Ellipsis. Clearly corrected a few things and back hitting full stride.
And there is another pick call.
Albie Evans curling around the front of the stack there. Butler impeded by Andrews as he was trying to stay with him.
Discussion about whether the disc is staying or going back or what's happening. Disc goes back. Albie Evans returns to the stack. Tom Butler repositions.
Big swing from Chulett, finds Evans. And he'll come one more to Phillip. Phillip shapes for a big flick, doesn't deliver it. And Chulett finds Lockman. To Evans, to Phillip. When Ellipsis are in flow, they just look so good. But when it breaks down, things start to look shaky as Andrews finds it on this near side with a creative throw.
And there is another pick.
Look, I don't want to get picky, but situation this game with the stack spacing, clearly suboptimal.
Has not been working.
And Rob Andrews, that side forehand over the stack, finds Lyon. We'll find Lockman up line for the goal. Ellipsis get it done with another offensive hold.
Ellipsis holding that one, bringing it back to a 2-point scoreline. However, we're getting towards the clutch end of the game, and they really need to start bringing it. If they have any tricks left in that bag, they need to bring them out, because now is the time to be showing that. Now is the time to be really giving it everything you've got, because they need to close that gap down.
And they've got a couple of breaks that they need to get back, and they're running out of time to do it. Andrews on this defensive unit. Dan Matthews-Hunter, Timocles Copland, Sam McGuckin. I can't imagine they'll be missing many more defensive points between them. They need to be on every point, providing that leadership and consistency, which is something that the Ellipsis defensive offense has somewhat lacked this game. They've had some great opportunities, but they haven't been able to put them into the end zone.
You can hear the probably Ellipsis boys in the background there getting really rowdy and pumped up.
They've adopted a cheer that is native to the Seattle Riot women's team. And they've put their own true Ellipsis spin on it.
As that's another brick pull there from Andrews. The wind's died down a little bit, so I wouldn't be expecting to see those anymore.
No, not a lot of wind around. And an uncharacteristically poor pull from Andrews. Andrews and McGuckin bracketing at the back of stack, trying to provide that deep protection. They know Latamatos and what he can do in the throwing department.
It's a little bit junky though, as Matthews-Hunter now clamps back in. Latamatos with the disc. Back to Blakely. He's got Stewart deep. McLean space on the open side, on the break side there rather. Latamatos on the far sideline, being marked by Copland. He finds Blakely on the around. Evans on the open side under. He pops it up. He's got Latamaros going deep. Can he get there? Can he get there? He bids. Yes, he does it!
That's a huge catch from Alex Latamaros, fully extended out in front on the end of that pass from Ash Evans. The captain of this Colony team leading from the front this game.
Alex Latamaros almost looked like he was pulling out of that cut and turn to go under when Evans puts the throw up.
And he's now thrown 5 goals and caught 3. Alex Latamaros, simply unstoppable this match.
Full extension layout there to take that score. Drags Colony out now, 1 more, and puts them within 3 of closing out this game.
And showing his versatility as well. Obviously, incredible handler, does a lot of work for them in that handler space, but they're striking deep. We've seen how difficult it is to stop handler deep cuts.
That was an incredible throw though there from Ash Evans.
It really was a lovely put, making it easy for his captain.
Coming out now on defense again, Colony working hard, wanting to extend that lead further, get themselves the win on the board and get home back to the apartments and start recovering for their final tomorrow.
That certainly will be the priority.
Ben Powley going to be putting the pull up now. Haven't seen him pull yet this game, so it'll be interesting to see how he copes with this little bit of wind.
Schullett underneath finds Lockton, those two combining a lot this match. Finds Andrews on the far side, has Evans going deep, just opts not to throw it, instead takes Ely underneath. He'll find Albie Evans. Phillip pulls out of a deep cut, Lockton's going deep, now the throw comes, and Ollie Lockton, can he toe it in? Yes, he can.
Ellipsis hold, that was some very nice offense there from Ellipsis. Colony almost looking a little bit defeated there. Standing there kind of just watching what was unfolding. It's tough. You know, Colony are wanting to work hard, but Ellipsis aren't willing to give it away yet. They're still going to fight.
They certainly are. You know, a team like this one won't give up early. They'll fight to the end, and they have the kind of belief that they can always come back. And they certainly have the talent and the ability to do so. It's been their plague all year long, their inconsistency and their ability to take their plan B or C when they're forced onto it.
As you said earlier, Max, they're really keeping that D-line strong with Andrews and Tullett on that D-line now. Need to just generate those turns, generate those blocks, because they have to start winning those ones back as Colony are just edging closer and closer and closer to a win.
And Ely's come across as well. Their offensive stars having to play a lot of points. Also got the athleticism of Dan Cusson, one of the fastest men at this tournament on the field. He's a former track athlete. He's run a 10.8 over the 100 metres, which is a pretty phenomenal time. We'll see if that comes into play.
It's a big pull from Andrews. Stewart to Latamaros, which we've seen so many times before. It's a deep stack there from Colony. Throws the around to Blakely, loses a little bit of ground on that, and straight back to Latamaros. Stewart hit the deep. And Latamaros punts it, and he's got Black underneath it. Thank you very much. Yep, they've called it a goal. It's a goal for Colony. Quick one's a good one. Colony edging out again, 13-10.
They've been maintaining that 3-point buffer since shortly after half-time. They've only taken 1 break in each half, but that's all you need when you're this clinical on offense, as Colony have been.
Colony long game, really working for them throughout this latter half of the game. We've seen the Ash Evans to Latamaros previously, the Latamaros to Black there. We saw a couple of ones earlier as well. It almost as if, seems as if Ellipsis is struggling to contain that.
They are, and I guess it's a testament to the flexibility and versatility of this Colony offense. Early in the match, preferring to play more in that underneath space. And maybe as Ellipsis started to tweak their defense accordingly, showing that they can go the other way and work just as effectively going deep, stretching the field with some very powerful throwers behind the disc.
You can hear Colony getting rowdy on the sideline, really wanting their D-line to get pumped, to get blocks, to get this D so they can get another goal. Albie Evans on the close sideline, marked by Bennett, finds Phillip in the center of the field. He's looking for options. He looks to Ollie Loughnane, who gets it and then hits the around break to Tullett. He's got Ely in the center of the field in an acreage of space, but chooses not to hit him. Oh, questionable option, but finds Ely. Loses ground back to Tullett. Phillip cutting on the break side and gets the around backhand. It's very messy offense here from Ellipsis, and they're not finding a lot of options in the center. Andrews goes deep and gets it up with his brother chasing him behind, and they both go up too early.
And that's pressure. You felt like the stall count was getting high. Tullett not happy with his offense. Andrews realizing it was just becoming too hard. He heads to the end zone hoping for the bailout. The throw comes, but Dave Andrews gets up early, commits his brother up early as well, crucially, and both of them not able to get a hand on it. And Colony with the disc.
It's really unfortunate there. Ellipsis had lots of movement, but all the movement was being generated from their handlers and the same couple of cutters. The rest of their stack was being very stagnant, and it just meant that the options weren't being provided as readily as it needed to, and they just became impatient.
It really is that case of an over-reliance on a couple of players, and when those few players are being denied, they're not comfortable with looking to something else.
Ben Palais on this close sideline. Whoa, close there, read down the line. As Palais goes down the line again and gets a little bit of body. But they find Wee there, calls a timeout.
And that's a good choice by Mark Wee, I feel. He senses the gravity of the situation, the importance of the moment, and the significance of the time that he has right now. If they can convert this opportunity, which they're in a prime position to do so, they'll extend their buffer and give themselves a commanding lead to booking themselves a spot in the final of the Australian Ultimate Championships.
That's certainly right, Max. If you were, Coach Cron Hudson right now standing in the Ellipsis huddle, what are you talking to them about? What are the things that you're wanting to change?
Oh, look, if I'm Cron Hudson, I'm sure I've got a list of tactical tweaks I'm making, but the message that I'm delivering to the boys at this stage is about the belief. They've got to believe that they're still in this match. That, yes, they're down by 3, but they're going to stop this offensive drive from Colony. They're going to get possession back. They're going to execute and put it in, and then they're going to get on defense and start cranking up that pressure to a level they haven't yet produced. And the first step in that process is believing that it can be done. And at least to some extent right now, I'm not sure if Ellipsis do believe that. You can see hands on hips and the body language starting to get a little negative out of them as they realize there's not a lot of time.
Not a lot of time and not a lot of points kind of left in the game either. They don't have many more to concede before Colony clinch this one out. So we'll see Mark Wee picking up the disc. Alex Gann as his dump. Seb Hardy isolated in a little bit of open lane here. And he hits the deep. Alex Gann has to bid on that dump though. Sean Reid on the around backhand. Hits Andrews, back to Gann. Everyone streaming deep and no one coming under. Gann overthrows the inside flick there to Wee and gives it back to Ellipsis.
Ellipsis can check off the first box of their list, of their to-do list. There's plenty more boxes to tick though.
Loughnane looks for the around to Ely. Hits it anyway. Andrews is coming under, but he's not hit. He sends it back to Tullett, back to Lockton in the centre field, back to Tullett again. They're right in the Colony end zone there. Phillip on this close sideline. Evans is providing an option, but he's looked off. Back to Tullett. Lockton providing a big swing cut, but he hits Andrews on the inside. Ely goes deep and then comes back under and gets the around backhand on a knee slide. Evans back to, outstretched Ely, can't quite get there. Evans pops it out slightly too far for him. And Colony, another opportunity. There was some really fast-paced offense there from Ellipsis, with a lot of utilisation of their cutters, which they haven't done previously in many points.
That was nice-looking offense, as you say. A little rush pass from Evans, making Ely work hard.
Yantapale there, floats it up, and Seb Hardy runs onto that one. Thank you very much.
And Colony 14-10.
It's potential game point now to Colony.
Ellipsis, you feel like that may have been the last opportunity for them. From here on, they have to be perfect. And Colony will look to finish this one quickly, get home, and get their feet up.
It's a big mental game from here on out for Ellipsis, knowing that they have to, if they want to win this game, they have to win. They have to get every single point now, here on out. It's a different game for Colony, though. They just have to get one.
They've just got to get one. Ellipsis, on the other hand, they need 5. They need 5 back-to-back points.
And that not only takes a toll on you mentally, but physically, you know, their D-line is going to have to work really, really hard. Their O-line's coming out now, obviously, but if they manage to get this one, their D-line's going to have to work really, really hard.
Their D-line is going to have to work really, really hard. What's also going to happen is they're going to have to trust and believe in their full roster, because there's no way that Andrews, Tullett and Ely are going to be able to sustain the level of play they need to over 5 back-to-back points. It's just not possible.
That's exactly right. It's not possible. And again, Colony just need one. They're going to be working hard to just create, get this D, force this turn, and then play cool, calm offense, dump swing like they have been, and just walk it in.
Things are looking pretty dire, though, for the green and black. And this may be the end of the road for them. Ben Powley sends down the pool. Colony Mutiny build the pressure one last time. Matt Hill sizes up his options, finds Peter Ely coming underneath. Tullett looks to provide the next pass. Has to go upstairs, pulls it down with a big right hand. McGuckin out in the lane working hard, provides an under himself. Cam Lyon cuts fat side, throw does not come. Instead he looks back to his dump, has to centre to Tullett. Tullett will leave his feet.
Oh!
Does well to hang on to that one. And now Andrews, it's his turn to provide an option downfield. McGuckin, the flow from Ellipsis is nice. Ely makes his favourite cut to the break side. The pass does not come either. And Rob Andrews provides the option for the big swing, centres the disc. Ollie Lockinen snatches that one out in front of Seb Hardy. Tullett just on the doorstep now, 2 metres away, and flips it into Oliver Lockinen. And Ellipsis will live to fight another day. And Oliver Lockinen, what a player. I mean, he's grown up playing a lot of his ultimate. He's a product of the Geelong Mudlarks, the reigning Division 2. Well, sorry, not reigning Division 2 champions, previously Division 2 champions from 2018. Stepped up to Div 1 like he should have been playing here for years. A true champion. Delivers when they need it most, under the most pressure. It's hard to believe he's only 19.
We've had a timeout called now again, Max. I can imagine, I don't know who called that one. I think it would probably be Ellipsis, though. They'd be wanting to just talk about the defensive options because their defense has a tough road ahead of them. It's 14-11. Their defense has to try and get 4 points in a row now to be able to win this one out. Colony boys will be having a chat about what they're going to do on offense. They're coming out. It's easy for them. They're being given the disc. They're being already given that opportunity. They just have to work it down the field now to score.
It's a tough road ahead of them, and it's also a really long road, and that's something challenging for them. And it's really something they need to not be thinking about. Thinking about the size of the deficit doesn't make anything easier for them. It only makes it harder. They need to be approaching this one step at a time, treating it as that check-box list of things they've got to do. They've ticked one box at the top, and that was hold their offense. They've now got 4 more boxes to tick. And as they tick each one, the next one becomes progressively harder. Because you know every single time they tick a box, they get a little bit more tired. And you know that Colony's going to step up their offense every time as well.
You can see here Colony's putting out a very, very strong offensive line. Latamatos, Blakely, Evans, Dow, Stewart, Black, McClay. It's a very, very strong line there, and a lot of them have been very, very crucial in moments throughout this game. So the Ellipsis defense have their work cut out for them. You still see the big names on there, Chula, Andrews, Ely. Those boys are working hard and they're going to be tired.
They are, and they're going to be feeling it in their legs because they've been doing this all tournament long when they need to. And the toll of doing that, game after game after game, does start to build, especially in hot, humid conditions such as this. Down the other end of the field, they're looking fresh. Alex Latamatos looks fresh. He's caught 3 goals. He's thrown 6. He's been involved in more than half this team's points, and he's got plenty left in the tank. He's done it all before. He's a reigning US national champion and a silver medalist at WOC. He's shown he can do it in the big time. In the big time could be right now.
Monster pull from Rob Andrews.
Reece Stewart picks it up. Finds Latamatos. Fakes the pick to Mark McClay. Would have loved to see that go. Instead finds Stewart up the line. Stewart will release. He's got Mark McClay underneath. Ely and Andrew C as well. But McClay's got the best read. He elevates with the left hand and he takes the catch. He wasn't in. He'll step it back after the premature celebration. And there'll be a discussion about where exactly his foot landed and where he needs to re-establish his pivot foot.
There is, I think, a foul. It looks as if there's potentially been a foul called there. He might have come down on top of someone. I'm not entirely sure what, potentially. But all the players are taking a couple of steps back and resetting.
Alex Latamatos is in the dump space. Disc in the hand of Mark McClay. Out Dowell in the cutting lane in front. Instead finds Blakely. He'll find Ant Dowell.
And that's it.
Colony Mutiny have put themselves into the men's final of the Division 1 National Championships here in Townsville, Queensland in dominating fashion. 1 break in the first half and a couple in the second. And they take that one 15-11, showing their class. They've had an up and down season to get here, and they've shared results against Ellipsis, previously losing to them at March Madness, but they get it done when it matters.
Colony certainly made their mark on that game really early, showing that they were here and they were here to dominate. Ellipsis just looked a little bit scrappy. Their offense wasn't clean. They had lots of issues with picks in their sacks, spacing issues, and then they had lots of errant throwaways, lots of some cold drops, just really unforced errors, and Colony really just weren't going to give it back, and they capitalised on those turns.
And we spoke a little bit about the club pedigree and the club reputation with Ellipsis. It will be tarnished now, but Colonies will remain excellent as they book themselves another ticket to the finals, as they so often do. And as they go and prep for the finals, so will we. But don't go anywhere, because we've got the women's semi-final coming straight up after this one, as we bring you coverage from the Australian Ultimate Championships, brought to you by Ultimate Australia. I've been Max Stenstrom. I've been joined by Oakley Ryan in the booth. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Alti.tv